Today's daf is Daf Yud Gimel. We are going to begin Daf Yud Beis by the Mishnah. The Mishnah now is going to continue dealing with halachas of you found a lost item, and now the Mishnah is going to be dealing with the case of somebody who found a shtar choiv, which in English is called a note that somebody owes somebody money. So now, what happened? If a person found a note, he found a note that the malva owes the leva money, that the malva lent the leva money.
I owe you.
I owe you note. Now, if they include, this note includes a property guarantee for the loan, so the halach is lo yachzer. He's not allowed to return it to the malva. Why? Because the Beis Din would then use them to collect repayment of the chayiv from land that belonged to the leva at the time of the lov, even if the land was sold to others. So that's the din. The din is that if there's a shtar that has a choiv that sheish b'lahem machrayis, so the halacha is even if the leva went ahead and sold his property, so you can go ahead and collect it. So the din is, so you're going to make now a chav for the leva. So that's the din. Now, if they do not include a property guarantee, then the halach is Yachzi returns them to the malva. Why? Because the Beis Din may not use them to collect payment from the malva from purchases of the karka. These are the words of the mayor. The Chachamim say in both cases he should not return the note to the malva. Because the Beis Din would, in any event, use them to collect repayment of the loan from purchasers of the leva's land. What are we dealing with over here? If it's a case where, if it's a case that the person, the leva, agreed, so so even if the loan now is said that it's going to, you're going to go be able to go after property, so why can't you not return the shtar? The leva admitted that there was a loan. Now and if the guy, the leva, doesn't admit it, so even if there's no property associated with this loan in the shtar, why could you return it? Okay, you're right that you can use this to collect property, but he can collect from unsold property. So the returning of the note would be a disadvantage for the leva who claims that he repaid the loan. So the answer says, actually the Mishnah is referring to that case when the liable party admitted to the loan. And here, this is the reason that the finder may not return the note to the Beis Din. Because we're concerned that perhaps the leva wrote in the note that he would borrow the money in Nisan, but he did not actually borrow the money until Tishrei. And between Nisan and Tishrei, he sold the property. So these lands, there's no nechosim, there's no lien over here. Why? Because the liability to repay the loan took effect only when he actually borrowed the money. Again, the chashin Hashem akas lo bizbenis v'lei lo v'atishrei. And the creditor will come to repossess the land that was sold between Nisan and Tishrei from purchasers shaloi kedin. If this is so that the Beis Din has to be concerned about the whole date issue, so kol shtari the asu the kaman nechesh loachi. We should likewise be concerned of all notes that come before us to that the Beis Din are perhaps it's predated. So the Gemara says kol shtari leireo. All notes in general have not been compromised. Hani reo, but these notes have been compromised by the fact that they were lost. Now, but this that we learned in the Mishnah in Bava Metziah, one may write a note for a borrower, even if the lender is not with him, because it's the borrower who assumes liability based on the note. So, how can one write this? Let us be concerned. Perhaps the borrower wants to write the note as he intends to borrow in Nisan, but he will ultimately only borrow when in Tishrei. And now the lender is going to come and repossess the land. And the borrower sells between Nisan and Tishrei from the purchaser. So Ravasi says, Bishtari akno. We're referring to a case, we're referring to not to one who finds a note, a regular note, but to one who finds shtari akra, deeds of transfer. This refers to notes that establishes a lien on the leva's property from the date the note is written, regardless of when he borrows the money. The hashabi nafshei, because the leva obligated himself from the date. The creditor has the legal right to repossess his land from any of the purchasers. So, if this is so, then the question is, Masnis Niktani, Mishnah, which teaches that if a note includes, that if the note includes a property guarantee, the finder should not return them to the creditor. Made them, we established that it's referenced to the case when the leva admits that he still owes the chayiv. So the question is, if Ramasi is correct, why shouldn't the finder return the note? Let us see. The possibilities are if they're referenced to a deed of transfer, so didn't he obligate himself that the property be collected from payment of the loan from the date that the deed of transfer was written? And if it's a note that is not a deed of transfer, there's no room for concern. As you said, that in such a case, when the lender is not present together with the borrower, we do not write such a document. Rabasi could tell you, although we do not write notes that are not deeds of transfer and the lender is not present together with the borrower, with regard to the case of the Mishnah, it can be explained that since the note was dropped, so now the credibility was compromised, and we're concerned that perhaps it happened to have been written in the absence of the lender, deviating from the standard procedure. Abaya says, the documents and witnesses with their signatures acquire on the lender's behalf. And this applies even with regards to notes that are not deeds of transfer. Why? It was difficult for him. And since you say that with regards to the notes that are not deeds of transfer, that they do not write them with the lender when the lender is not present together with the borrower, so there's no reason for concern that perhaps in the case of the note, it happened to be written when the leva was not there, when the malva was not there. But how can Abaya say, we learned, if a person found bills of divorce or bills of freeing the slaves, or wills, or deeds of gifts, or receipts, so the Allah is, he may not return them to the people. He found a get of a woman.
So to get married again? I mean,
no, he found the get. He found that Reuben wrote a get to, let's say, to Rachel.
You're talking about Malva Leiva, you're talking finances.
Yeah.
What's the problem with the get? What's the issue with the get? Get to Noshim?
No, because if she has the get,
she can get married.
She can get married, or maybe she has the get with no shevach. Okay, let's see.
So she can get a ksubah.
So I don't, yeah.
Okay.
Why? Because this is the reason. Perhaps they were only written and not delivered because the person who wrote it reconsidered about them and decided not to deliver. And if he reconsidered b'chasuma, you said
even a get.
That document witnesses with their signatures acquired on behalf of the recipient. If so, why shouldn't it be returned to him? What were you saying? Sorry.
No, but the Edom tests are prosthetic, and I say prosthetic, and they certify.
Right.
It's real or not. So what's the?
So why shouldn't it be? So why shouldn't it be returned?
What's the worry exactly?
Right. So my answer is Hani mili hechad kamat liyadi. With this, that we say that a creditor acquires the lien of the leva's land immediately no witnesses signed the document. That applies in a case where where the document came into the creditor's possession. But in the case where the document did not come into possession, as it was never given to him, we do not say this. Rather, how can the Mishnah be reconciled with Abaya? As it teaches, person who found a shtar chayiv, if they include a property guarantor, lo yachzer, he may not return them to the creditor. And we established that the Mishnah is referring to that case where the liable party, the debtor, admits to the chayiv. And nevertheless, the finder may not return it due to the fact that we're worried perhaps he wrote the note with the intention to borrow in Nisan, but did not actually borrow until 6 months later in Tishrei. According to Ravasi, who says that the halacha of a shtar chayiv, of a note, may be written for a borrower, not when the lender is there, so applies only with regard to deeds of transfer. So you could say the Mishnah is talking about notes that are not deeds of transfer. As we stated above. But according to Abai Omer, according to Abai, who says the documents, witnesses with their signatures acquire the lien of the lender's behalf. So what are you going to say? Why shouldn't one return the notes, even if they include nechasim for the loan? So Amar Lach Abaya will tell you, what's the reason of the Mishnah? We're worried, the Tana suspects that there were a repayment and there was a collusion. Although the Leva admits his chayv, he's suspected of lying. Why? Because after you paid the chayv, he might have colluded with the creditor to repossess the land that he sold during the period of the loan. And now the Leva and the Malva will split the money between them. So the Gemara asks, according to Shmuel, according to Shmuel, it says we don't worry about repayment and collusion. Michael, what are you going to say? So Mela, if you hold like Rabasi, who holds that it's only in the case of deeds of transfer it's permitted to write this note for a borrower in the absence of the lender, then you can establish the Mishnah referring to notes that are not in the deeds of transfer. So Michael, what are you going to say? Shmuel can establish the Mishnah referring to a case when the liable party does not admit to the chayiv. No. If so, so if in a case when the notes do not include the property guarantee, why must the finder return them to the creditor? So again, granted the creditor cannot collect the chayiv from the lien property that had been sold, but he can collect it from the unsold property, even though the debtor claims to be exempt. So the Gemara says, when you have a note that does not include property guarantee, you can't collect neither from lien property that has been sold nor from unsold property. Therefore, there's no harm in the finder returning the note to the creditor. But since the creditor cannot collect the chayiv, why should the finder return the note? The creditor can use to cover the opening of the flasks. Its only value is basically a piece of paper. If the document only has the value of a piece of paper, that the finder returned to the leva to cover the opening of the flask. So the answer is leva who. Leva is leva who. The leva is the one who says that this never happened. And basically that the shtar chayiv is mezuyif. Therefore, he has no claim to the paper on which the note is written. Okay, Rabbi Elazar says, Machlekes k'shein chayiv meida. Machlekes in the Mishnah between the Meir and the Chacham is in a case when the liable party did not admit to the chayiv. Did the Meir savar, according to the Meir, you'll start when you have a shtar which has no charayis nechasim, you can't collect not from the mishubadim and not from the necharim. Rabbanan Savri and the Chachamim hold mishabdi hu galei gavi. you cannot collect from Nechasim Shabbatim Ibn Chari, however, Migbe Gavi. Albo, Kishachayev Meida, but when the guy admits, everybody agrees that you have to return. We are not worried about repayment and collusion at all. Rabbi Yochanan says, Machlekes Kishachayev Meida. Machlekes is in a case where the Chayev party admits to the Chayev. The Meir Savar, the Meir holds Shtar Shem B'Chrayis Nechasim Mishavdi Hudalei Gavi. He holds that it's only from lien property that one cannot collect a Chayev using this note that does not include a property guarantee. But in the case of Nechayim Migbi Gavi, you could collect. But on Savi, the Chamhov Mishavdi Nami Gavi, from Mishubadim you could collect. When he does not admit, then everybody agrees you can't return the Chashin L'Pidayin because we suspect that there was a repayment. Tanya Kabasei Rabbi Yochanan, Tanya Utiyufta Rabbi Lazar, Bechado, Utiyufta Shmuel Bertati. It was taught in a brisa with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, and from there it's also a conclusive Tiyufta of one element of the opinion of Rabbi Lazar and a conclusive Tiyufta of two elements of the opinion of Shmuel. Now the brisa teaches Matzur Shtar Chayev Yesh Ben Achrayis Nechasim. In a case where one found the Shtar Chayev and they include a property guarantee, even if both the Mal and the Leva agree about the existence of the Chayev, they should not return to either. If they do not include the property guarantee, when the Leva is made, the Yasal Malva could return. If not, then the Yasal the Meir. Why? The Meir would say, notes that include a property guarantee, gave him the Nechasim Shabbatim, one can collect from the Nechasim Shabbatim. But if not, gave him the Nechasim Nechayrin, you could collect from the Nechasim Nechayrin. The Chum say, Echad Zeh, gave it the Nechasim Shabbatim. With both of these types of notes, one can collect the Chayev from lien property. Tiyufta de Rabbi Lazar B'Chada. Now, there's a Tiyufta to Rabbi Lazar in one. The Omar for Rabbi Lazar says, the Meir Shtar Chayev She'in Ben Machrayis, according to the Meir, a shtar that does not have a Achrayis Nechasim, ain't gave him Nechasim Shabbatim, and also blame Nechasim B'nei Chedin. Amar, Rabbi Lazar says, Ben the Meir, Ben the Rabban Chashin L'Krinya. We do not suspect that there's collusion between the Lev and the Malva. Well, Brisa Ketani, and the Brisa teaches that shtar she'in bei Achrayis Nechasim, that when you have a note that does not include property guarantee, the creditor cannot collect the debt from the lien property, but he could collect from Bnei Chedin. And it states, Ben the Meir, Ben the Rabbanan, Chashin L'Kniya, we are worried. So what do we see from here? We see Chashin L'Kniya, which is Tiyufta to Rabbi Lazar's opinion that there's no Chashin L'Kniya. So the Gemara asks, but are these two elements of Rabbi Lazar's statement are refuted by the Brisa? Why was it stated above that only it's one thing? There's two things. The Gemara says, Choda Daf Yud Dalet, on top. Choda Hu is actually one reason. The Chad Tamhu. It's actually one reason. The Mishum the Kamar Rabbi Lazar Machlekes B'She'in Chayim Meida. Because Rabbi Lazar says that the Machlekes in the Mishnah is in a case where the liable party does not admit his chayiv, and who matar tzachi. He explains the Meir's opinion in this manner, that a note that does not include a guarantee cannot be used to collect the chayiv even from unsold property. Let's do a little bit more. Tiyufta de Shmuel betarti. We're going to be done in a minute. There's a Tiyufta to Shmuel, two elements. Chadak Rabbi Lazar, the Homekim Asisha P'Shein L'Chayim Meida. One Rabbi Lazar, as Shmuel also established the Machlekes, referring to a case when the liable party is not admitted to the Chayiv. Chadam Shmuel, that Motzar Shtar Hakna Bashuk, if one found a deed of transfer in the marketplace, Yachsel Bailim, he must return to the owner. We're not worried about Pidayim. And Tiyufta de Ktani Hacha, there's a Tiyufta. Even if they both agree, you should not return neither to this person nor to that person. So we see and all the more so when the liable party does not admit, as we suspect that there was